Rhodes Island operator Blaze reporting in. Here, the authorization letter signed by Dr. Kaltsit. Now I'm under your direct command. Alrighty, Doctor. Let's show the other squads what we can do. I've seen a lot of battles like this, but tougher times might still be ahead of us. Come on, I'm no good with paperwork. You sure you want me here in the office? I'd be better out in the field. Wouldn't you rather I brought home some wins?
Hello everybody, my name is Ludwig and this is Operator Overview. The operator I'll be reviewing is Blaze, so without further ado, let's get right into it. Blaze is a 6-star guard of the Centurion branch. Trait of the archetype attacks all blocked enemies. So contrary to the wording, attacks all blocked enemies, she does not actually need to block the enemies. She just needs for the enemies to be in her range. So really it should say attacks up to block count enemies, basically. So she has a block count of 30, so that means let's say she gets in a further extended range, she will attack all enemies in her range up to 3 enemies at a time instead of needing to block them. So there's a little wording there that's a little off, but that's basically what it actually means in the gameplay. Her stats are actually pretty decent. She has decent HP for a guard. She has pretty good attack, which is further boosted by skills. She has pretty standard deployment cost and a decent attack interval. Nothing too crazy, but nothing terrible, so pretty good, standard. For operator profile, faction, she belongs to Rhodes Island's elite operators. Her operator description: Blaze, Rhodes Island's most fired up operator, will spread her enthusiasm like a wildfire. Operator quote: please, it's okay to dial it down a bit. Profile: Blaze, an elite Rhodes Island operator, has demonstrated professional combat skills and tactical decision making in mobile operations, annihilation, and raids. Now commanded by Amiya, she is a staple for when battles get tough. Blaze's character voice in English is Christina V, and for Japanese it's Mai Nakahara. Moving on, operator backstory. I don't know actually how to say her name, so I'm gonna just say Blaze. A brash and hot-headed Yanese feline and one of Rhodes Island's elite ops, codenamed Blaze, is known among her colleagues for her impressive track record and dedication to the infected cause. Blaze's mastery over originium arts manifests as combustible blood channeled into her weapon, a tactical chainsaw with an optional extension in the form of a pole stick, capable of eviscerating anything in her way. Blaze's background and family are a mystery. What is known is that they were involved in a mysterious murder spree in Yan that remained an unresolved case for both Blaze herself and the mandarins of the Imperial Court. Her Yanese father was accused of being involved in the murder, even though he was in Victoria back then. Strangely, the officer investigating the case was arrested without a reason, and all the records regarding the crime were lost in a great fire. Consequently, she has been under strict surveillance by Operator Lizzie, who vows to resolve this complicated legal case. So, in CN, we have some... So I'm gonna spoil some stuff here. You've been warned. Alright. So, I'm gonna spoil something. Basically, it's nothing too big. I don't know the story, but basically, she has an altar now. So, Blaze altar is on CN currently, and she has her own event, so I'm gonna assume that goes into her background and all that family stuff. So, pretty cool. Yeah, we'll get that later, I guess. So, very cool, and next. Debut event and banner. Her debut event was the Partial Necrosis episode 6 of the main theme, and her banner was Enthusiasm Expansion Explosion. Alright, moving on. Her module: Centurion X Overloaded Weapons, Overheated Heart. Stage 1, HP and attack. Her trait improved. Attacks all blocked enemies. Attack is increased to 110% when attacking blocked enemies. So, since the wording is a bit strange, I'm not sure exactly how it works, because really her trait, she already attacks enemies that are not, she doesn't have to block enemies, so she can attack enemies up to block count, remember, 3. Since she has 3 block, she can attack 3 enemies in her range, and they don't actually have to be blocked by her for her to hit all 3 enemies at the same time. So I'm assuming she doesn't actually have to block the enemies, she just gets an increase in attack to 110% when attacking enemies in general. I'm assuming she attacks in general and she does more damage. I'm not sure, please correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm That's the way I think it works. Because if it's not, if she does actually need to block the enemies, then it's not as great. But if she doesn't, because her trait doesn't actually need to block enemies anyways, then it's really good. It's a increase in damage, which is always useful. For stage 2, she gets some more attack and more HP. Harsh Training, one of her talents, her second talent I believe, gets improved. She gains status resistance after being deployed for 15 seconds, plus 4% attack after 30 seconds, and plus 7 attack speed after 45 seconds. This is very good. Obviously, Blaze wants extra attack, because that's great for damage, and then attack speed means she attacks faster, which is always good as well. The faster you attack, the more damage you're gonna do in general anyways, so it's great. For stage 3, she gets some more stats, HP and attack, and she gets the exact same thing as stage 2, except she gains 6% attack instead of 4, and 12 attack speed instead of 7. So, overall, it's a great high value module. Like, if you're gonna use, just like any module, the more you use the character, the better the module is gonna be. So, some have really good modules, but the only modules that really matter are if you use a character, the module is going to have more use anyways. It's going to help the character in general. But some modules are better value in general, like Delta modules like Logos, or Silver Ash module, or Thorns or something. So Blaze is one of those characters. She'll get a pretty noticeable increase in effectiveness just by getting stage 3. So it's a pretty valuable module to get if you use Blaze. Her talent 1, emergency defibrillation. When this unit's HP falls beneath 25%, restores 50% HP one time only and prevents HP from falling under 50% for 6 seconds. Improves at pot 3. So basically, it's just a second chance talent. She goes underneath 25% health, she'll restore half of her health, and it'll prevent health from falling below 50% for a duration. It will always trigger before so let's say she takes lethal damage, she will trigger this talent before actually being defeated. So it's pretty nice to have, but it can only happen once. Contrary to the wording, it doesn't tell you, like, so it is basically every time you deploy Blaze, she gets one use of this talent. So let's say you retreat her or she dies and you place her down again, well, you'll get the talent back. It's once per deployment, basically. And that's about it. It's nice. Talent 2, Harsh Training, improves at pot 5. Gains status resistance after, this is what we were talking about with her module. She gains status resistance after being deployed for 15 seconds. So with module, she gains status resistance just like normal, but then with the module, she gets extra attack and attack speed. So, but the talent by itself is just status resistance. Status resistance halves the duration of all negative status effects. So if you have cold, like her event that she released with the, Frost Nova and all of that, all the cold everywhere, or freeze. So she doesn't care. She halves the duration of those effects after she's been deployed for 15 seconds or 12, but that's great because those effects are huge pain. So the duration of half of all of those it just allows her to get back into the fight faster. So it's pretty good. Module makes it a lot better. So since this is affected, she gets extra attack and attack speed. So like we talked about, it's great. Yeah, there's not much else to say about it. It's pretty nice. For master recommendations, I recommend skill 2 over all of her skills because skill 2 is her main skill. One of the nice things about Blaze is she is an extremely valuable operator at Elite 1. So if you're a newer player, also a little bit, I'm gonna go on a tangent here for a second. So now that they've added they changed the way the starter new player experience works. I believe you get, because I've gotten it even though I've been playing for so long, I've gotten the new, like, you get to choose a 6-star operator out of like a few options. After, I think that's just a reward you get now. I don't remember when I got it, but it was pretty recent, and the operators you can get are, I believe, like Saria, Silver Ash, Thorns, Blaze, Mountain, and Exousia, I believe. I think that's it. So out of all those operators, if you're a newer player, I recommend, it depends on what you have, but in general, a broad generalization would be, I'd say Mountain, Blaze, and Thorns. Now, which one is kind of up to you, but I think all those three are the biggest impact in general content. While Silver Ash is great, he's not really a lane holder, so he's great for burst, but he requires significant investment before he gets there, so you're gonna have to be like, let's say, you know, you're a newer player, you're trying to go through the main theme, and you need a unit that can lane hold because you have nothing in you have like Melantha and like Beagle or something. So like, what do you need? Well, you need somebody to lane hold, you need some consistent DPS, and you don't really need an extremely high investment early game. He's not really high investment late game, of course, but early game, getting an Elite 2 operator and then mastering their third skill, and like, that just takes a while, especially because you don't have the resources, and that's expensive. You don't have the LMD either. So one of the things about, now I'd say Mountain and Blaze are the two that are pretty nice because they can work at Elite 1. Blaze gets her skill 2 at Elite 1. That means you can promote her and then go upgrade somebody else. Is it going to be as good? No, but it's still it will work. Like, the story is that you can still beat the story with it. So I mean, it's powerful enough at even level 7, but eventually you'll master it and you'll level up Blaze to Elite 2. But the point is that you get her signature skill at Elite 1, just like with Mountain. You get his signature skill at Elite 1, his skill 2, just like Blaze's. Thorns is a unique case because his requires Elite 2, because you have to use, it's his third skill, that's his most effective skill. It's typically why you bring Thorns, is that skill. He's very impactful as a unit, and I recommend getting him, but he does not have, he required to be fully functioning, he has to have Elite 2, which might be a significant investment if you're an early game player. So it really is up to you, but Blaze and Mountain are great picks. You really can't go wrong if you're choosing between any of those, but then look again at what you have and just decide by then, or whoever you think looks cool. So I don't really care, it's just, that would be my take on that sort of thing. So Elite 1, she's fine. Same with Mountain. So Elite 1, which requires a lot less resources than Elite 2. So, but back to skill 2, back to the video. Blaze's signature, it's an AFK skill. It literally just extends her range 2 tiles. So she has 1 tile and then she gets another tile. So that's great. It increases her attack and defense, so her survivability and damage. It has unlimited duration, so you don't have to activate it again. You just put it down and it will activate by itself. It auto activates after a period of time. And it works well with her trait as she is a Centurion Guard, so she can attack a bunch of enemies at the same time. So she can 3 enemies at the same time, and the extra range means she can start attacking them earlier than previous before off skill. So she can attack further ahead, which is great. Other than that, it's really simple. It's just really good. Skill 3, Mastery 3. Oh, the word underneath. So it works well with her trait and allows Blaze to do consistent its damage. So I just forgot to write it. So Skill 3, Mastery 3. Blaze's burst damage skill gradually increases her attack and defense. This is a very maybe if you want. If you want to use Blaze in a different way, Skill 3 is pretty interesting. But I typically use Skill 2 only, and yeah. But Skill 3 is interesting. It's a burst damage skill. It increases her attack and defense gradually, so over time, the skill is pretty short duration, but over time, she'll gain a buff. She'll gain attack and defense, and then extends her range. It extends her range, so wherever you place Blaze, you have Blaze, and then you have the tile that Blaze is facing. It gives, where Blaze is, 1 above her and 1 below her, and then it gives 6 ahead of her. Not including the one that she already has in general, the 1 range. So it's basically 3 and then 6 right in front of her. Like, it's all like 1 block. You can check the skill range, but that's basically how I'd explain it. It extends her range, okay, and then it does a large burst of AoE physical damage at the end. Now, it's like, At Mastery 3, it lasts 10 seconds. You will get the max buff at 8.95 seconds, and then it will blow up at 9 seconds. So it has a very short duration, so it requires precise timing if you want to maximize the effectiveness. If you have like a big group of enemies and you want to blow them up or something. Other than that, it's pretty interesting. But like I said, it has a very short duration. And then skill 1, it's very basic. You would only use this in almost never any scenario, because typically you'll have Elite 1 Blaze, because Elite 1 is very cheap. So you'll typically just have access to her best skill, which is skill 2. So it's just a very basic increase in damage. So skill 1. Power Strike Y is an offensive recovery auto skill, no duration. Initial SP 0, SP cost 2. It increases the attack of the next attack to 290%. At Mastery 3, it is so incredibly basic that it's honestly very... It's not even interesting, so we're going to skill 2. Chainsaw Extension Module is an auto unlimited skill. So it's initial SP 0 and SP cost of 70, duration unlimited. So it takes 70 seconds for her to basically charge up the skill, and then once that happens, she gets an attack range increase. She gets the attack, and she gets extra defense, so more survivability, and it lasts forever. So unless she gets defeated or you retreat her, so. It's pretty simple. We already talked about it. She just can hit enemies further away, and she does more damage, and she has more defense. And that is literally all she really needs, because as a Centurion, she can already multi-target enemies, which is great, since that's the whole point, I guess. So, next, the skill 3 we kind of just talked about. It's an auto recovery. Boiling Burst is an auto recovery manual trigger 10-second skill. Initial SP of 25, SP cost of 35, duration 10 seconds. It is a very mechanically interesting. She does lose 25% HP, so be careful about that. So when the skill ends, she will lose HP and she'll deal that AoE damage. It's pretty interesting. But we already talked about it. The HP loss will leave her at 1 HP at least. It cannot defeat her, basically. Yeah, requires careful timing, has an AoE burst at the very end. It's interesting. It's not terrible, it's actually pretty interesting. It's just hard to use. Definitely harder than her second skill to use, like, optimally. Like, you have to have enemies in her tile ranges, and then you have to make sure that they're there by the 9-second mark so that she blows them up, and then, like, yeah, but it's pretty fun when it works. So the only thing I think that's not my favorite, it does do quite a bit of damage, but I would have liked the SP cost probably be a little lower, because it takes 35 seconds to recharge. So it's kind of like, but it has a short duration, so it's not bad. It's pretty good. It's just typically I don't use it compared to skill 2. For synergies, there's not too much that synergizes with Blaze, because she's pretty self-sufficient as a unit. She doesn't have self-sustain. That's probably her biggest weakness. She has no real self-sustain. She has that emergency talent 1, but that's it. The emergency defibrillation. So if using skill 2, the added range, okay. Basically, the text is basically place an operator in front of her, and then it would help her a lot. And that's really all it boils down to. So let's say you have Blaze. If you're using skill 2, she gets the extra range, right? So she has 1 and then 1 in front of her, so she has 2 tiles ahead of her. Well, that's typically enough. You can put 1 unit in front of Blaze, and then she'll still be able to hit the units in front of that operator. So that's really nice. And then she can also block more if there's enemies coming still. Operators in front of her that are great. I think Guardian Defenders are really well because they heal her. So they're a defender that's tanky, and they will heal Blaze as well. So pretty nice, because she has no real way of self-sustaining, so you will have to have either a medic or some type of Guardian Defender to heal her, which is great. They also have the extra block, and she can attack in front of them with the skill 2. So Guardian Defenders, other examples would be operators like Mudrock. Mudrock is very effective in front of her. You can also put Guardian Defenders behind her. Really just doesn't really matter. So you could put the Guardian Defender behind her and they'll heal her, or you can put them in front of her, if you're using skill 2 at least. Other ones are like Mudrock, because Mudrock's great in general. I mean, I'll go over Mudrock sometime, but Mudrock is great. Hoshiguma, especially with module, has extra block by 1, which allows you to just... she can block more enemies, which allows Blaze to have more time to just kill them. And then the other synergies would be supporter operators. Supporter operators as well help everybody, so technically this is sort of, it's not really a synergy with her specifically, it's more of a synergy with everybody, but operators like Scotty the Corrupting Heart skill 2 will give stats, so she'll give an inspiration effect that gives Blaze more stats, and those stats means she has more defense and she has more attack, and she then has also this sort of straight, she's not, Scotty, this Corrupting Heart is a healer, but she's not really a medic. It's like a passive HP regen thing, so, but it does heal, so it is pretty good. But I mean, attack and defense affects everybody, so, well, in the range of Scotty, so. But Blaze will definitely get the nice increase because she'll get extra attack and defense, which is basically what she wants, so, in general. Suzerain skill 3 is just there because Fragile affects everybody, because it's gonna make the damage enemies take more, so they take more damage and it also slows them down, but it's not really a synergy just with Blaze, so. But they do help a lot, so I couldn't really think of any other synergies Blaze has. She doesn't really need any synergies, she's very simple, so. For operator criteria, this is my sort of grading area, I guess. I've already talked about this before, so I'm just gonna go over this quickly. Subjective is you kind of pull for the character because any reason that's subjective. Character design, lore, artwork, voice, presence, and story, faction, elite operator, character relations, style, etc. The objective is if you want them for their specific role in the squad. So I need this character because they do X, and I can't do X without this character, basically. She's a unique branch Centurion. She has physical damage. She has some survivability. She has pretty good stats, but she has no self-sustain, so it's a one-time survivability thing, but it's pretty decent. She has some synergies, some high consistent physical damage, the multi-target capabilities, increased range depending on the skill, and that's really all she is. There's not really much else to Blaze. Blaze was an early character when the game released. Episode 6, that was a while ago, of the main theme, and there's not really much she needs. I mean, she's a simple operator that you place down. She uses a chainsaw. I typically just place her down and then I forget, because that's kind of the whole point. You place her down, you put skill 2, and you just go do something else. It allows you to focus on other areas in a stage without having to hopefully worry about wherever you place Blaze. So in conclusion, she's a Centurion guard who specializes in dealing with groups of enemies with her multi-hit capabilities, well-rounded stats that are enhanced by her skills, AFK, place and forget operator, honestly, and typically that's about it. There's not much for trivia. Her leitmotif is boiling blood. Her codename directly describes her fiery personality and heat-based originium arts, and that's really all. Blaze is a very simple, straightforward unit, and I think, yeah, I should probably stop saying simple and straightforward because I think I said it like 20 times, so. Okay, Blaze is great. There's nothing else I can say really about her. Like, I would love to word this differently, but there's no way I could do it's just there's nothing I can say differently. So, well, what I will say is the next one is Thorns. I'm gonna go over Thorns and then Chongyu. And then maybe Typhon. And then eventually I need to master the newer ones like Narantuya and Nymph. And then I'll go over them later, I guess. So, yeah. I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Have a good day.
I fight for the infected. Life for our people is rough. Anyone with eyes can see that. It's just that most people don't give a damn about our lives. But I do. I care a lot. We've got so many operators here counting on me, and I'm not about to let them down. The reason I work for Rhodes Island? Because I've got nowhere better to be, naturally. But I've got to be honest, I can't think of any place better than here. The pay's good, the medical treatment is cutting edge, and we've even got a cute little rabbit. It's just brilliant. What could be better? I'm one of Rhodes Island's frontline breachers. I don't have powerful arts that wipe the field, and it's not like my combat techniques could down a whole army. But if I combine the two things I'm good at, then boom! You get quick results! I think that's what they call a chemical reaction. Amiya is one of the most talented fighters I've ever met. She keeps a clear head in any situation, and her arts are enough to scare even me. You know, Doctor, I can't help but wonder, how did she get so good at fighting as young as she is? Honestly, I wish she was picking up joyful, happy experiences, not the combat kind. If you need my help, no need to be shy, just say the word. You put your trust in me, and I return the favor. You command, I fight. It's symbiotic. Aw, look at us. We're the best partners in all Rhodes Island. Oh, don't tell Amiya I said that. The crew's been buzzing about who you used to be, before your memory loss. They were talking back before I even met you. It looks to me like you aren't the same person anymore, so I guess I'm talking about two different doctors? Past doctor and present doctor. Dr. Kaltsit says you're really gonna shoulder responsibility for Rhodes Island someday. She saved my life, and I trust her. She also asked me to decide what kind of person you are for myself, and I'm going to do that. At least, until Eripathy takes my life. Us Rhodes Island operators put all our trust in Amia, Dr. Kaltsit, and you, present doctor. Because you've never given up on any of us. Fighting for the infected is the right thing to do. It's worth it, Doctor. No sacrifice is meaningless, and no victory comes without a cost. Hey, Doctor, pass me that towel, would ya? Yeah, just finished training. I need at least 6 hours every day to stay combat ready. Gotta roll out whenever the order comes in, you know? Alright, I've kept you waiting long enough. So, where are we going this time? If that's the plan, I guess you're picking up the tab? Can you feel the air getting hotter? No? Really? Then I'd better kick things up a notch. Aw, I was trying to get you fired up. Would people get the wrong idea if I carried the doctor to bed? Maybe I'm better off leaving well enough alone.